Fantastic. This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
A very good evening, and hello all around the world. Welcome to Simspeed TV for tonight's action. Round 4 of the Ozicar Skip Barber Series. It's the endurance round from Hungaroring, Hungary. What a well-travelled Grand Prix track this is. Known in F1 circles for being tough to pass and tight and twisty. Not a problem whatsoever for our Skip Barbers. They love this sort of thing, and no doubt will put on a show tonight. David Haynes joined by Jason Fewens. Jason, just the one 50-minute race tonight, but we're going to have plenty of pit stops and strategy.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you, Dave. Tonight's going to be an absolutely cracking race. I guess we've got, like you said, multiple pit stops to consider tonight. A little bit of a window for the drivers to play their pit strategy out. So depending on where you are in the field, whether you're bunched up with someone or you're or not, that may determine on where you're going to pit. So look for a couple of drivers to duck in early, and of course some drivers pitting as late as lap 20.
So the track, if you don't know it, it's the Hungaroring. Key passing opportunities are going to be into turn 1. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some moves happen in some other places. Drivers are going to be challenged through turn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 as many quick changes of direction at the far side of the circuit. Turn 4 also presents a challenge, very quick and blind across the crest there. Drivers are going to grid up now for our 50-minute race. 2 pit stops ahead of them, and it's Alex McKellar on the pole from Cam Dance, Neil Gardner, John Schultz, Russell Clark, and Sean Doyle. The championship leader, almost undefeated this season. Ben Snell is going to start from 7th with Darren Toon, Vasco Sarovsky, Tim Harris, Dennis Hancock and Brody Cook about the top half of the field.
Yeah, relatively tight at the top as you'd come to expect with the Skip Barber Series here tonight. Row number 7, Alex John, a little way back. Nathan Verney by his side. You've got Craig Kerman and Jeremy Bush off row number 8 tonight. Simon Dobner and Matthew Harriott make up row number 9. As we look further back in the field, Sean McKenzie, John Snell, Ash Knowles and Leon Williams make 10 and 11. And then row number 12, no time set, is Gregory Adams, Ira Felberg. And I think there should be one more, maybe not, off the back of the grid. Darren Lassou, I think, is the traditional guy who doesn't tend to a qualifying time in. So watch out for him to come through the field. He's proven he can do it before by being patient. So haven't got a second race to consider tonight. Lined up ready for the lights to go green as we speak.
Yep, standing start, of course. Just rev it, drop the clutch. Pretty tall first gear for these machines means everyone's going to get away relatively evenly. Longer run down towards turn 1, key overtaking opportunity, downhill into a tight hairpin. What can our drivers do? Revs up, green flag drops, and away they all go for 50 minutes of the Hungaroring. And I said a pretty even start, but we've got one driver not getting away quite as well as the others. Dennis Hancock there, not at all the launch he would have wanted. He's getting absolutely swamped. From the top 10, everything's pretty even so far. McKellar holding the racing line. Cam Dance having a look down the inside, but not close enough. I think the traction from the racing line is going to keep Alex McKellar up front. John Schultz is going to battle with Neil Gardner. Strong performance in qualifying for Neil. And towards turn 2, he's going to have the inside, and you can see sometimes drivers can go around the outside of turn 2, have the inside for the quick flick at turn 3. There's multiple ways to navigate it and battle side by side through the opening sector of the lap, and that's exactly what they're going to do, all except Matthew Harriott and Simon Dobner, who may have come together there in turn 2. Tyres still cold for everyone, and that is Dobner finding the fence.
Yeah, I think Harriott just getting a little bit loose there at the midpoint of turn number 2 and spun it across the track, and poor old Dobner come through with nowhere to go as we jump on board a VRS replay now and hopefully capture exactly what happened. You see the accident's already occurred in front, and there's that little clip of the rear contact car, and of course that had a flow-on effect, and that's how Dobner ended up with damaged suspension facing into the fence.
Maybe could have given a little bit more space there. Something might have started with either Matthew Harriott losing it or getting tapped. We stay green, we stay racing, almost completing the first lap now. McKellar still leads from his pole position. Dance still in second from second on the grid. A bit more change behind. Gardner, having lost out to Schultz, is clearly starting to feel a bit more pressure from Sean Doyle and Russell Clark and Ben Snell, the green wave, starting to line up behind as well. Multiple lines through that final corner as always. Some drivers stay super tucked to the inside. Some are looking for a very late apex and the speed down the pit straight.
Yeah, she's a train at the moment, single file, as they go around a complete lap number 1. So a bit of a contradiction from when they went through this part of the circuit last time. They were 3 wide because the circuit does allow that, but obviously not the quickest way through. Looks like Hancock diving into the pits now to serve a black flag penalty.
Do you reckon he jumped the start, slowed down, and then went, and that's how he ended up behind some spots and with a penalty?
Yeah, double whammy by the sounds of it. It's not a good way to start his enduro here tonight for this 50-minute session, but hopefully there'll be an opportunity for him to come back and actually make a race of it.
So, wound it back. This is the race start for poor unfortunate Dennis Hancock. That is a jump start.
It's as guilty as you're going to be.
Proof if ever that, you know, if you're going to jump the start, do it big.
Yeah, just keep the foot into it and make the most of it. So we're back to live pictures now, jumping on board, or we're focusing on Cameron Dance, sitting in P2 at the moment. You can see the snake of cars flying through turn number 6 there, I think it is, in the background with Sean Doyle and Gardner now. We jump on the back of Gardner, looking back and just see how busy that little train is.
Yeah, all relatively compact in the leading field still. Except for Sean McKenzie going for a little trip.
Doesn't look like he's suffered any damage, so he will be able to continue, hopefully blatch onto the back of the cars in front and get dragged along, but we focus back on the front of the field again now as I go around a complete lap number 2 already. Flying by relatively quick, and we've had a bit of action already so far. 141 at Ben Snell and Russell Clark there diving out looking for the pass on Doyle down the inside.
Yeah, Doyle was pretty defensive into the final corner, compromised his line, then onto the pit straight, didn't take that late apex we were talking about. And then, you know, a couple hundred meters later, it translates. Ben Snell is up into 5th. Clean swept last round. Clean swept the round before that. I believe clean swept start of the season at Knock Hill as well. So he is on an absolute Skip Barber Aussie car tear. And just for the moment, from 7th on the grid, he's gone up into 5th. And passing does seem at a premium at the front of the field at the moment. Still, 2 pit stops in everyone's future. Russell Clark playing around with some different lines there as well.
As long as he stays colouring in between the lines, he'll be right. But at the moment, they're using absolutely all the curb they can on offer there as they do the quick switch back through turns 5 and 6. Relatively quite tight section of the circuit through here, but with the little Skip Barbers very, very suited to the change of direction.
Yep, rewards you for setting it up ahead of time as well and following closely. That might be a little off track there. Might have been just a little wide at the end for Russell Clark. It's Darren Tune, Vasco Sorofsky and Brody Cook immediately in behind him. Plus Alex John, good to have him back on the grid. His teammate McKellar still leading proceedings. This is as even a top 10 of the field that we have had in quite a while.
Yeah, it looks like the top 11 are there in a little bit of a group with a slight second and a half gap back to P12 at the moment, leading another charge. So one little mistake here in this top 10 or so, and you can find yourself at the back of the order relatively quick. We look further back in the field now. It's Knowles and Snell dicing for position to go around to start their fourth lap.
Gardner and Doyle is the side-by-side battle here. Don't know exactly what position you want to be in as they approach turn 4. Outside does not appear to have a whole lot of grip for Neil Gardner, but he rejoins and he has the inside for the much longer next corner. I think you can use the inside at turn 4, but only if you're a bit further up, and there's a braking zone in some other cars, but I'm going to guess not a huge braking zone for these cars. That curb getting absolutely monstered.
Very Alonso Hamilton-esque that pass wasn't it?
I was thinking back to that, you know, it was one of those corners where you're like, do you want to be on the left or the right? I'm not sure. As you work your way through there. Gardner's attack stalls out though, because Russell Clark is going to go side by side and then around the outside of him. All this letting your top 3, top 4 get away. McKellar, Dance, Schultz have not been battling quite so hard. Ben Snell's broken free of all of this and left it in his mirrors.
Very
nose
busy
to tail through the penultimate corner. Absolutely nose to tail in this pack.
Yeah, very busy mid-pack here at the moment, so a lot of drivers with their hands full, watching mirrors, watching people dart around behind them, trying to keep an eye on the car in front as well. Out wide onto the AstroTurf, they're very critical for that run onto this front straight. We've already seen a couple of moves take place down into turn 1 as we speak. Vasco looks like he pulls out of the slipstream, looks like he gets the job done there on Cook, is it? Or big brake lock-up.
Tune locks all 4 of them up. Bit of a check-up from the drivers in front that he maybe wasn't expecting, and he stood on the brakes and tried to make sure he wasn't part of a problem. Ash Knowles is on the pit lane. Fuel going in, and you can see the front tyres for him maybe a little on the early side to make this work, but he's put all his cards down on the table, and everyone is going to expect him to do 2 more 10-lap runs in this one, having made his first stop well and truly on the early side. Jeremy Bush in 14th place has quite the interesting view, because just a little bit up the river from him is 5th place Sean Doyle, and this is your mid-pack group.
Probably not a bad spot to be there for Jeremy, just looking at everyone in front of him, because there's a long way to go in this endurance race here tonight. As we spoke earlier, it's just a one session. We've moved away from the traditional 2 sprint race format for tonight's endurance race, so it doesn't have to necessarily happen now. You've just got to make sure it's the old adage in motorsport, you've got to buy a ticket for the final lap.
It's finish first, you must first finish, and 20 other ways of describing the same philosophy.
So Gregory Adams and Sean McKenzie stuck in a little battle at the moment, 17th and 18th, separated by a mere 0.2 of a second. So good little battle forming there after Sean had a bit of a spin early on lap number 2. So he's recovered to join the back of the field there with chasing down the car in front, which I think might be Craig Kerman. Big look and a dive under brakes to car 77. Alex John there, a little bit of curb used to get the car turned. Hasn't got the job done yet though, because he finds himself on the outside going into turn 3 under the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely level with Brodie Cook. Can he find much grip around the outside? Hard to know immediately whether there'll be marbles or anything else out there. Alex John, that looks relatively promising. Yeah, he's ahead and by a bit as well. So a good move in the end there to go round the outside of 2. I'm sure many other drivers saw that happen and will be taking notes. It's your leaders, McKellar, Dance, John Schultz. Might almost have a bit of traffic in a moment. They are being caught by Ben Snell as that goes on as well.
It's a very wide track here at the Hungaroring, so we have seen Formula 1 cars go side by side through most parts of this circuit in recent times, and of course the Skippy's being significantly smaller, so no trouble there as long as the boys give each other plenty of respect and plenty of room. We should see plenty of side by side racing tonight in these open wheel format cars. Does look like the top 3 or 4 have made a bit of a break now, because the gap back to Sean Doyle now is almost out to 3 seconds. So best of the rest at the moment, holding up this little train. You can see the 4 guys out in front there at the moment. Just got that little bit of a breather. And we should see Sean come around that last corner now. There he is, with the rest of the train in tow.
2025 for McKellar, 2021 for Ben Snell. Then this, Doyle under pressure as Russell Clark goes down the inside. Alex John on the attack there as well. Again, you can see maybe trying to set up Vasco Surovsky to the same move he pulled on Brodie Cook, but I think he's quite close enough, and Clark looks good to cement P5. Though now that I've said that, I think he can probably hold on, but you get a picture of all the cars following along in 5th as they come across the hill there. Some go a little wider than others, some with more respect for track limits than others. Leon Williams here, front of the car jacks up, of course. Still the compulsory tyre change in this one, as in the feature races in the 2-race format.
Yeah, Leon's put on some new boots, getting that out of the way early, so potentially he's just got to worry about refueling at his second pit stop, making a quick splash and dash so he can maximise his opportunity to get back out on track. It'll be jump on board with Vasco Surovsky now, looking down upon Krusty the Clown, staring at the back of Neil Gardner's Skip Barber.
Is it Gregory Adams with the same livery, but plus the crash test dummy helmet?
Yeah, definitely very easy to pick out in the pack. It's easier to pick out than it is to say.
I'd say this format of racing definitely lends itself to having some teammates in the race can help you out. So you got McKellar leading and his teammate Alex John working his way up through the pack. Of course, the rest of the green wall with the Team Milo. Plenty of locked-on cars in here as well. Neil Gardner not getting a whole lot of help. Surovsky looks down the inside there. Alex John cuts back underneath, ever the opportunist. He wants a little bit of that. He'll get past Neil Gardner, I think, and he was almost shaping up on Surovsky, but it didn't work out. A couple of drivers came to pit lane, and as I was saying, all teammates from Locked On here, Nathan Verney, Tim Harris, Jeremy Bush.
So they make their way back out on the track with some clear track around them, so they may be able to work together to slipstream each other, which can be quite sufficient here at this track. So
All of them in and out together like girls going to the bathroom.
we'll see whether that plays dividend later on in the race when everybody else at least has their first pit stop. So we are currently on lap 8, so we're potentially looking to see 9 or 10 laps out of these cars for each stint. So those that haven't pitted should really think about diving into the pits relatively soon.
Yeah, predicting a 25 lap race and 9 to 10 laps on a stint for fuel. So we might see a bit more of a land rush there on pit lane at the end of this lap or the end of next. And then always interesting to see who was secretly saving. Might really open up their strategy in the latter part of the race. Pit entry just on the right there before the final corner. That looks like John Schultz doing something a little bit different. Do any of his teammates follow him in? Well, Ben Snell won't. And you know what? I've got another Okayama pit situation here as well too. More drivers going for pit entry. Remember when there used to be a chicane at the pit entry there? Jay would have seen that on the old map. It's Sean Doyle and Brody Cook pitting together. So Schultz and Cook might be working together on that one if they can.
Yeah, this track's taken a number of configurations over the years. I think from memory it might have first saw F1 action back in 1986 from memory. And I reckon that's the year that Mansell did his famous slide around the outside of turn 1 to get the move done on Prost, I think it was from memory. So a few different configurations over the years, chicanes added and straights extended. So seen plenty of action over the years, plenty of rubbers going down around the circuit.
Every modification and alteration over the years with the goal of making overtaking a little easier. And they're not quite there yet. I think Gardner and Tune, 7th and 8th, our big group that we had in the middle of the field here, starting to separate a little bit, particularly by some of the drivers pitting in from this group, like Sean Doyle, like Brody Cook.
Yeah, Chu's shown over the last couple of weeks he's been a very calculated driver, playing it very smart, and particularly last week leaving his move until the last couple of laps, so just to ensure he's got a nice clean car, the tyres are still fresh. So being very strategic in his race method of the last few weeks, which has put him in good stead in the championship. You can see the Miley car there dive into the pits. Ben Snell, as you can see on the display, was sitting third. He's joined by his teammate Russell Clark. Separated by a couple of seconds on track, so we'll see how they exit the pits and whether they actually manage to come out together.
Neil Gardner also pitted. So there's your leaders here. They've got another lap. Very few drivers now not having made one stop. It's McKellar, it's Cam Dance, as you see. It's Vasco Swarovski, Alex John, Darren Tune, and Craig Kermond. Everyone else made one of their 2 stops. Now, I know it's because they took a shorter fill by pitting early, but these locked-on guys that were circulating 13th, 14th, 15th now look a little higher up the field. Brody Cook has Vernie and Tim Harris right behind him. With John Snell rejoining the race. If that earlier, shorter stop is what it took to get them back in the pack and in the field, sure, they'll be heading for a slightly longer stop later in the race compared to everyone. But it certainly buys you an opportunity to get back with the pack. Rather than languishing all on your lonesome. I expect we'll see everyone else remaining on pit lane, except that lying Kiwi. Cam Dance. No, he told us the truth. But he's going to go on. Alex McKellar's going to pit. What about Sarovsky, Alex John, all on pit lane? I expect that's what we'll see Craig Kermond and Sean McKenzie do as well. Slightly altered pit lane, I think, in some recent patches. They are zipping down pit lane. I think the speed limit went from 60 to 80. It's rare in this day and age that a speed limit ever gets increased.
So you did say earlier in the broadcast whether someone was being sneaky saving fuel, so that could have just been exactly the strategy that is playing out in front of us now. As we see, is that Sean McKenzie or Felberg diving into the pits to make his first pit stop? McKenzie it is after that early spin. We get back out on track with our leader at the moment, running a little bit wide through the corner there, but without too much issue. Nothing but clear track in front of him, clear track behind him, so he is out for a qualifying lap at the moment. As you can see, only car not yet to pit, so he will be making sure his macros are all lined up. His legal macros are all lined up.
I was about to say, we can accuse him of being, two-faced, but I wasn't going to accuse him of cheating.
So tyres checked, fuel selected, and as per in-game allowance, and we'll see him dive into the pits at the end of this lap.
Duplicitous. I like the word duplicitous. Some of the battles are really starting to form up, and these drivers have made their pit stops recently, as you often get initially struggling with a little bit of understeer on the cold front tyres before they bed in, warm in, get up to pressure. Oh, so much curb for Neil Gardner. Now he's off the track. On the rejoin, that's going to cost him some spots. Bush and Tune get back ahead, and he just carried a little bit too much speed into that chicane, went a little wide from the first apex, launched the nose off the second one, and a mistake that happens oh so easily when the car just doesn't turn how you were expecting. That can happen. Now Cam Dance pits. We'll rejoin. He'll be hoping somewhere in the top 3. Alex John has appeared to have made a whole bunch of positions through this pit stop phase as well, because he's gotten ahead of Doyle.
Perfect camera angle.
Gardner. Yeah.
Did you see the front of Dance's car get dropped there a moment ago as the leaders come onto the straight? So he has made an absolute splash and dash ripping pit stop. He has come out in the lead of the race, but of course under serious threat from the get-go on cold tyres. As they go too wide through turn number 1 in the background here. Milo versus Top Split TV versus Milo.
Yeah, Alex John looking for another because he's gotten himself ahead. Russell Clark there. It's the lead of the race. Keller getting back ahead. Cam Dance. Now, the front tyre's a lap colder for Cam Dance, but maybe he's learned he doesn't want to lead in the initial phase of this one. Dance just,
Ooh.
Did maybe have a bit of a wiggle there?
Or was it intentional?
This is a little further up the replay. Keller front, pulls to the side, rolls out of it and says, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice.
So mind games are plenty happening here, and we are only at the halfway point of the race. So Cam Dance is taking that.
Doing the same thing, or has he genuinely got to slow down there? What is going on? Is that if you push too wide out of turn 4?
I think so, yeah. There's definitely a slowdown out there. If you clip that inside curb, it throws you out wide, and I think it's a 1.1 second slowdown.
Is it the chicane? Is it somewhere else? Take a look in a second.
So Milo going side by side down the straight. Sean Doyle with an absolutely perfect view of what's going to happen, but all he can see at the moment is a green wall in front of him with nowhere to go. They're going to go to big brake lock up there. AJ takes the big dive under brakes, makes the most of the opportunity from Doyle as he ducks in behind. So another position lost there from Doyle. Just getting caught out by the two Milo cars in front.
And the green wall back in effect. Let's take a look at where the drivers have been picking up these slowdowns, these course cuts. So that's just after the chicane, and then
right at the head of the fish.
So is it if they go past the AstroTurf? Looks like if they go past the AstroTurf on the exit, that could be it. I want to draw your attention to, at the front of the field, Ben Snell has caught what was the leading three of Dance, McKellar, and Schultz. And he is in the pack, in the party now. 4 cars up front. Definitely some strategy games afoot. McKellar is back to the lead. So how did that happen?
Is it more mind games in effect, or is there another slowdown to serve? Jump on board VRS replay now, virtual racing school, get a prime example, a clear indication of what happened. Again, just looks like Dance may have purposely drawn a little bit wide there with the cut back to fall back into position. That one there didn't look intentional though.
And now there's more than a second lead for Alex McKellar. That's different. That's a change. Can he get away? He's got Schultz and Snell right up behind Cam Dance here. Still one more pit stop to play out for everyone at the top here. These top 4 putting quite a bit of time between themselves and everyone else in the field.
So we're currently on lap 14 of what we are expecting to be a 25-lap race. And, of course, I think Ashley Knowles was our first pitter on lap number 5. So he is just about out of fuel for his second stint, ready to dive into the pit. So he'll be probably the first one to make that splash and dash and try and get home, and right on cue.
I think he's got 11 more laps to run in this one as well. So he's going to have a feather on the throttle pedal there. 1.3 seconds McKellar to Dance. You can see it. McKellar, through this segment of the track more than anywhere else, might be able to just waltz away with this one.
You don't have to give McKellar much of a reason to increase that little gap. Just get a little bit of sniff that the opposition behind are in a little bit of strife. And then they find themselves overdriving the thing a little bit, and that gap just increases. But this little train here, Cam Dance, John Schultz and Ben Snell, all very seasoned, experienced drivers of the Skippies, so they'll know exactly what they've got to do and how they've got to work together to try and get on the back of McKellar. But he's doing his absolute best at the moment to put as much daylight between the front of that 27 car and the back of his 73.
Wherever that slowdown is, I think Russell Clark has gone and found it this time as he drops back behind Alex John and Sean Doyle and then fell back in a line. Now, interestingly, of our leading top 4 here, all of them stopped. No, not all of them stopped on different laps, but they stopped across 3 different strategies here. No, they did. They did all stop on different laps. So Dance will be the one carrying the most fuel. John Schultz will be the driver carrying the least, and that's going to affect how long their final pit stops are. So Dance could still have a pretty quick final stop. McKellar's isn't going to be too bad. But for John Schultz, he better hope that he's saving a little bit right now, otherwise he could, in the final stint of this race, end up separated from the top 3.
Yeah, so Dance just might need that little bit of fuel benefit for that second stop, because he is 1.6 seconds behind McKellar at the moment, whereas John Schultz there has a bit of a gap, quite a big gap actually, back to Brady Cook behind, so multiple seconds, 5-6 second gap. So interesting to see how things are going to play out, and again, whether these guys will all follow the leader if one dives into the pits, whether the others will all react or whether someone will try and go for the overcut.
We're on board with Russell Clark now, looking backwards from Alex John. I think it's this right-hander here where they might have been going wide, and it looks like if they get the wrong side of that AstroTurf, they end up in some hot water.
It looks like a lot of them have learnt their lesson because they're taking it a little bit easier through there now, not quite exploring those track limits that they were only a handful of laps ago. Car 74 Doyle, they're getting a little bit squirrely under brakes. After that lock-up earlier on his tyres, would have copped a little bit of a heat transfer. Possible flat spots on all 4 tyres, but seems to have things back under control now.
Window should be open to pit and get to the end now with 19 minutes left. And John Schultz is going to do it. So early call from John Schultz. He'll be the first driver to stop and clear his second pit stop. So, turn 4, we've seen a bit of side-by-side through there. It's towards turn 5. And a bit of a moment for Gregory Adams and Craig Kermond.
Prime example of 2 into 1 doesn't go.
Well, the thing is, if you're the car around the outside at turn 5 or 6, whatever it's called there, you can carry a lot of speed around the outside. It's one of those corners famously where the quote-unquote karting line works very, very well. So there shouldn't really need to be a squeeze at the apex there. But then I also didn't see exactly how responsive or not Craig Kerman's steering was. So, yeah, unfortunate. Shouldn't really need to happen at a corner like that.
So we jump on board with Sean Doyle now. We just did see Russell Clark running quite wide in the background just moments before, who's directly behind Russell as we look forward to Alex John in front. So little Skip Barber's there moving around mid-corner there, making that slide happen. Sean's got that nose of his little Skip Barber tucked right underneath the rear wing there, almost kissing that coolant bottle, as you can see it down there on the bottom left-hand side of the tail light. You can hear the tyres squealing in the background as they go through absolute torture. And they follow each other into pit entry.
Yeah, a popular place to be right now. Where are those yellow cones? As you can see, a bunch of the locked-on cars coming in as well. Like I said, I think they took their shorter fill earlier and will be taking a bigger fill now for some of them. Oh yeah, there's your yellow cones where they've got to slow it down to 80. They're almost going slower than 80 through that pit entry on the inside, the narrower line of the hairpin as well. So it's not actually a massive stop.
You just see Nathan Verney making up about a car and a half length going into that yellow cone there as well. So he actually carried really good speed right through to that pit limit point. And actually, as a result, I think he's come out in front of the car that he was battling with while he was doing it.
So another look at Adams and Kermond. Kermond's got a good run here. Rolls out of the throttle. Then gets another good look down the inside here. Oh, he didn't have any overlap until the wedge starts closing at the inside. The first angle we got, it was really hard to discern much. And if they were sort of level side by side, I know who I might have put a little bit more blame on. But for Kermond there, he wasn't owed the inside of the corner until they were already sandwiching together.
Yeah,
So only a handful of drivers remaining yet to make their second stop. In fact, I'd say it's about 50-50. Keller holds 1.8 seconds from Dance, who's going to pit. Going to try to take a short fill a little on the earlier side. Ben Snell continues on the racing line. And the action is on. Cam Dance, obviously, the admission there is on race pace, he can't catch Alex McKellar. So he's trying to pit early, short fuel, something, bridge that gap.
We see Dance leading the pits now, short 9.3 second pit stop. He is coming out into traffic as well. He's going to have to duck it. No, he's going to challenge for position under brakes. Plenty of room there. I think it might be Bush going through.
It's a lapped car, so it's either Dobner or Leon Williams. It's got to be Leon Williams. And bonus points, right, for drivers who can complete a race with 0 incident points. Well, everyone going off track here and running wide there, AstroTurf this, slow down that. Leon Williams right now is the only driver out here with 0 incidents. So, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's a very easy track to... It doesn't look it because it looks like there's plenty of runoff, but the off tracks here are quite detrimental to your race. You can rack them up very quickly. Of course, in some series you can get pit lane penalties if you get too many of them, so it's something that the drivers have to be very aware and keep an eye on, because you lose 5 points here and it could have an effect at the end of the season.
For a few of these corners, I would put to you that in a race that a little bit of fuel saving seems very beneficial, there are corners like turn 4 and some through here where you're actually saving fuel by carrying more speed through these corners and potentially abusing the track limits a little bit. I think there is some sort of perverse incentives at play. Ben Snell is going to stop Alex McKellar. Your race leader carries on, and why not? If he's got the clean air and he's broken free, then I'd keep going as long as possible. Apparently Ben Snell's missed his pit box, which is going to be pretty costly considering these are short little pit stops as well. He's Cam Dance, who's made that second stop already, and he is going to go right by Ben Snell, who's still getting service. Oh, Ben Snell's getting long service. Has he been penalised for speeding on pit lane as well to go with it?
Well, we did see Cam Dance get a 9.3 second pit stop when he came out just a few laps ago. You can see Ben Snell still sitting there, so frustration aplenty. It's a wonder we can't see smoke coming out from underneath that helmet there at the moment. Maybe he did not quite slow down on that pit entry and has copped himself, I think it's a 40-second speeding and pit lane penalty. Just have a quick look there as he overshoots his pit bay and has to reverse back into position. So that could have been just insult to injury after a potential slowdown penalty. So you can see him leaving the pits now, 57.2. So after a 9-second pit stop and Dance, that's about a 42-second penalty.
Oh, I think the Ozicar Skip Barber Series Season 12 Snell Nami ends here at the Hungaroring. He'll probably still be championship leader. That will bring to an end a very, very potentially bordering on unbeaten string of results in this championship. It's Alex John and Russell Clark, no strangers to battling each other. They've both made their second pit stops. Do you know, if you enter pit entry carrying a slowdown penalty, you get a penalty added? But apparently, hearing it's an unsafe pit entry. Let's take a look. And that's because...
Very late decision.
Too much.
Yeah. So that actually puts Snell back into P17, I think. So self-inflicted penalty there just absolutely puts the nail in the coffin that is his race. So he'll be very, very keen to see the last 10 laps, the last 10 minutes of this race take hold so Barney can drop that checkered flag. We look back out further up the field at the moment, and it is Alex John Russell Clark. We are focusing on the little battle here at the moment. Underneath the Rolex bridge for the double left-hander as they make their way down the hill again. Two very, very different lines there from Alex John and Russell. Russell looks like he's got the run coming out of there, but he's almost got nowhere to go. And if he does, he just decides to sit in behind Alex at the moment and play the game that they're renowned for playing.
Yeah, under 10 minutes left. Both these drivers have made their final stops. It's just Alex McKellar that we're waiting on. He's not going to have to worry about Ben Snell. He might still have to worry about John Schultz. He's definitely got to worry about Cam Dance, who has set the fastest lap of the race last time around. So this pit stop for McKellar needs to be magic. He can't afford any dramas with it whatsoever.
No, it looks pretty textbook, but this little battle here, looks like these two guys have almost just pulled a bit of a gap there on the couple of cars behind them that are stuck in their own little battle. It's Tune and, it's not Tune and Doyle, it's Tune and Cook. Very, very distinctive wheels there on Cook's car, so there's no doubting who that was.
So for the lead of the race, out of the pit lane comes Alex McKellar. At speed though is Cam Dance, and he goes not only to the lead, but he might be clear of the slipstream. Can McKellar produce the same kind of pace that he's had in the last 4 or 5 laps to bridge that down? Because it's just 5 laps to go. Cam Dance has 2 seconds in his pocket. John Schultz looks pretty comfortable in 3rd place, completing the podium, but behind that, all in flux. Clark and John battling into turn 1. Tune and Cook, or as I like to call it, Tuna Pasta Bake, battling over 6th and 7th.
So plenty of action on track, no matter where we look at the moment. A couple of little battles here for minor placings at the moment, but all important nonetheless. This is the Gardner Bush and Verney for 10, 11, 12, so not all the action necessarily happening up the front of the field. So lots of drivers further back have got their hands full, and on the back of Verney, I think that might be Bush we can see in the background as well, 198. It's Leon Williams, a luck down. Very wide, that's that 1.1 second slowdown I was talking about it before, so we'll see whether that actually took effect, whether he can wash off any penalty there before it becomes too much of an issue.
Neil Gardner's got locked on fever and he's seeing double in his mirrors right now. He's driving middle of the road down towards turn number 2, and it was to try to cover off both of them at once almost, it seemed. Bush is on some good lines through this segment. Late apex, then opens up into the next corner for a late apex to then flow into the next. And if you can get that flow, that right car placement, it's like autocross. It's like trying to do the slalom between the cones. Once you get in a little too hot to one apex, it keeps building and building and building on you. The drivers who pick a good line and a good rhythm and good flow through there get super rewarded through the second sector. 3 laps to go for your race leaders. 3 laps to go for these guys when they come out the final corner.
Yeah, I do think all those guys there will be safe for fuel, but it was Ashley Knowles, I think earlier on we were just discussing that he might have to do that last splash and dash for one potential lap. So we'll keep an eye on that. That could have effect further down the field. Russell Clark and Alex John at the moment, looks like that little battle of Tune and Cook have latched on to what was 2 and 2 now become 4. So battle for 5, 6, 7 and 8 on your screen as we speak. Late in the race, Tune showing a really, really good speed of 2:01.8. That's almost qualifying times this late in the race, so good job there.
Third pit stop for Ash Knowles. The first pit stop came just 2 laps too early. And he'll be one of 2 drivers at the moment, it looks like. 3 drivers making this a 3-stop race. The longer the stint goes on, the more attitude you seem to get from these Skip Barbers. A lot of yaw through the corners. Mind track limits back there, though. Maybe that's the message for Brody Cook at the tail of the train. The lead of the race. Dance's lead's gone from about 2.5 seconds out to 3.4. The way I see it, or the way JRT measures it, it's apparently different to our graphics, but it's in that margin, and it's not been possible for McKellar to close that back up. Now it's just 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it's almost like the guys engraving the trophies could almost start at this point. So Cam Dance out by over 3 seconds, Alex McKellar. Then it's another 2.7 seconds back to John Schultz, and then a massive 9 seconds back to Russell Clark, Alex John, Darren Toon, and Brody Cook, which is the battle we see on our screen at the moment. Very, very important points up for grabs, though, so none of these guys will be rolling over and giving any positions away. If I'm not mistaken, this is round 5? Round 4, so we've got 2 more rounds after this. So we are past the halfway point. People need to start thinking about what they're going to do for the final couple of rounds.
Bit of the classic turn 2, turn 3 switchback going on there. It's Alex John grab 4th place. They're all tucked up right behind him. Opens it up wide, and I think Brody Cook's gotten down the inside of Darren Toon there. He'll struggle to finish this one off, and he backs out before what's pretty much a single file chicane here. They can run 2 wide a bunch of other places around the track. That's maybe not one of them.
So it's Top Split TV, Car 77, Milo Racing, followed by Darren Toon, and then a second of the Milo cars there. So these guys have been doing plenty of laps together over the last few weeks within each other's perspective track space. They've managed to get their way through the last 48 minutes of racing in close contact without any real issues. So let's hopefully they can finish that off for the remaining 2 minutes of this race. And, make it exciting for us to see who's going to finish in the final steps off the podium.
Yeah. Literally everyone who started this race still running in this race. Now, look at that. Barney, no flag in his hands, means there is 2 more to go. Pace of this race, right on a knife edge, we are going to have an extra lap. What does that mean? Well, I reckon Cam Dance, shortest pit stop of anyone, might be in a little strife here. Who else had an especially short stop that could find themselves a little shortchanged? Russell Clark, perhaps?
So Neil Gardner, Jeremy Bush still going at it, fighting for position, going side by side. So not the quick way around the circuits, but they are not under any direct threat at the moment. A little bit of a gap further back, as you can see on your screen as we speak. Looks like Bush there getting the job done at this point, but Gardner will be keen to return the favour, get his very distinctive livery, golf livery back in front.
Toon making up a spot here, it look like.
Looks like Clark losing 2.
Yeah, Clark dropping back and creating a bit of space between Alex John, Darren Toon 4th to 5th. I wonder if there's a few of these starting to really think about that fuel. Did I call out Russell Clark by name as one of the drivers with a shorter stop? That could be it as well.
Just focusing back on the lead of the race, Cam Dance coming around now, and he is going to get the white flag. As you can see, there is 5 seconds to go in the scheduled time, so just sneaks across the line with 3 or 4 seconds on the clock. big dive into the pits there. That's exactly what you were talking about. And we can see that car just wasn't going to make it home. So he's had to sacrifice a last-minute splash and dash, Russell Clark. It will literally be a couple of seconds to stop. Hopefully he's got his front tyres turned off and he doesn't decide to change them in the process.
There's a bunch of drivers whose pace has dropped off for this last 2 laps as well. Oh yeah, I wonder. Not seeing any signs of problems yet for Cam Dance. McKellar is just 3 seconds behind him. His tune inside line of turn 2. Cook around the outside. Can he keep a nose in? He can't. But a classic opening sector battle.
Further back in the field, our championship leader, Ben Snell, currently sitting in 14th. So he's managed to make his way back up a couple of positions in the second half of the race after that disastrous pit stop. But the focus here at the moment, as they make their way through turns 5 and 6, that really tight switchback. Darren Toon looks to have things under control at the moment. But Brady Cook looks as hungry as ever to do whatever he's got to do to get that car back in front.
Final lap, final sector. Dance has lost a fair chunk of time on this lap, but it's not going to be enough for McKellar to get him there through the penultimate corner. It's down to 2 seconds. Started to fade a little bit, but it's a short run out the final corner to the checkered flag. Barney had nothing, then he had the white flag. Now he's got the checkered flag, and Cam Dance breaks the Snell streak, wins the Enduro round at Hungaroring.
Yeah, Alex McKellar crossing the line there, 2 seconds behind, and Schultz there claiming third. The final stop on the podium is Alex John, as you can see, crossing the line right now from Tune, followed by Brody Cook with those orange distinctive wheels. Sean Doyle and Tim Harris in the background, getting the job done there to guarantee themselves a top 10 finish.
It's Russell Clark having made a third pit stop for that splash, and he ends up back in 12th. Cam Dance weaves in elation. I think Russell Clark in frustration. And Ben Snell, wow. Penalised for the pit entry. He was too greedy, too ambitious, crossed the line that he shouldn't have. And that puts him back into 14th. And if anyone had a particularly slow final lap, Snell's final lap was a 2:03.7 compared to his best of a 2:49. So he might have, after that penalty, still had to be a bit careful with the fuel right at the end there.
No, I actually saw him run off onto the grass there with about 3 or 4 corners to go. So just pushing a little bit hard to get home. Just exceeding those track limits and exploring some unknown territory. Our results from our endurance race round number 4 appear on your screen as we look at the top 10. I'll let you go through them, Dave.
Yeah, Cam Dance takes the win. Alex McKellar, John Schultz completing the podium. It's John in 4th from Darren Toon, Brody Cook, Sean Doyle, Tim Harris, Jeremy Bush, and Neil Gardner. The top 10. Biggest mover inside that top 10, Alex John from 13th on the grid, finishing 4th.
So Nathan Verney, Russell Clark 11th, 12th tonight. I can see cars in my screen below doing a drifting session with Vasco Sarovsky there, P13. Ben Snell, we spoke about of what could have been P14. Sean McKenzie did well, finishing a minute 10 off the pace, but after that early spin, top 15, he'll be relatively happy with that. John Snell, Craig Kerman, Ash Knowles after a third pit stop, Dennis Hancock and Gregory Adams make up your top 20. Then we've got Darren Lassou, Leon Williams, Matthew Harriott, and Simon Dobner there, the last 3 finishing off the lead lap with Ira Felberg failing to take the start. So he's just making up the numbers on the display sheet. And that just about wraps up what has been round number 4 here at a very, very eventful Hungaroring since 1986, as you can see on your screen. A lot of history at this track, and we've just created some more tonight with the Ozicar Skip Barber Series.
Yep, it'll be in the halls of history right alongside Taki Inoue getting hit by the medical car, Mansell's drift, and Ben Snell cutting pit entry. That's what they'll remember it for. Our podium standing by, though. We've got third place man, John Schultz. And it looked a matter of going with the leaders in the early part of the race there was really important.
Yeah, it was keeping up with everybody and then trying a different pit strategy slightly. I think I just need to copy Cam's textbook for pits next time, though.
Yeah, he had everyone foxed on that first stint for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like it. It was the second stint that got me. I think I came into the pits and I was a second behind him and came out 5 seconds. It was magical.
We'll make sure you'll be the first with a protest form ready and post-race scrutineering, but you still come away with a podium.
Oh, I'm just impressed, mate. Like, that's seriously impressive. But I'm going to have to work on my pit stops if that's the way it's going to be. Find the tricks of the trades going on here.
And running with some of your teammates up front there as well, you can sometimes, get some strategy off them, see what is and isn't working. Bit of a, I guess, disappointment and out of form for Ben Snell.
Yeah, I think the track was interesting this week. It's a lot of our first times here, so I think Ben got practice in 20 minutes before the race started and got pace straight away. But yeah, I think it was just some of that wheel time at the track to try and get there. But I mean, for Team Otis, this is great for myself and Brody. A really big jump there and hopefully getting closer to the other Team Milo car.
Inter-team bragging rights there on the line potentially. Yeah, Brody Cook scoring 6th in this one too. So it's always about the combined haul in that team's championship, and I think there's a lot of drivers who have their focus there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some inter-team bragging rights, that'll always be good at the end. And I think this result puts the top 3 close in terms of the Drivers' Championship as well. So going to be a strong run into the end of the season.
Congratulations. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So third place getter there, that was John Schultz. Very, very happy to score himself a podium here at the Hungaroring. So he'll be looking to build on that again for the remaining 2 rounds of Aussie Car World Cup. Season 10, 12? Not quite as
12. It says 12 in the graphic.
Okay, not quite as organised as it should be, but very, very happy nonetheless. So we drag into the commentary box with us, Alex Mack. So he joins us right now. Very, very great race from him to secure 2nd on the podium, mate. Well done for a stellar performance.
Yeah, thanks, mate. A lot of fun. I just got done between the ears tonight by the looks of it. Cameron outraced me in the pits, and look, I was pleased to be on pace with the front runners because there were some pretty tight times, but then I chose to do the opposite of everyone else to try and make a difference, build a bit of a gap in the second stint if I could. But then I made a mistake and got a slowdown and really wasted that early couple of laps with good tyres compared to everyone else who took tyres in the first stop. So yeah, it came down to what goes on between the ears tonight, unfortunately for me, because Cameron certainly schooled me on that.
So you did say that you did have great pace there, and you managed to snatch away pole from Cam Dance in the dying seconds of qualifying there by a mere 200ths of a second, but it was enough to put you on pole. So the moment those lights went green, you did take control of the race and took for a very early lead. But I'm sure you'll be extremely happy to have your partner in crime back again this week after a bit of a hiatus, and Alex taking a handful of points by finishing 4th as well tonight.
Yeah, good result for AJ. He obviously didn't have much time to practice and stuff. A few people came a bit short of a run here tonight, but yeah, look, that helps us, moves us back up a bit. I think the Milo and the Otis boys will, run away with the season in the end. But really big congratulations to both John Schultz and Brody Cook, who are the second Milo team. Great drive from Brody, had great pace, fairly new to iRacing, but had a great result tonight. John, of course, in 3rd. They're really coming through this season, so well done to them.
Yeah, no, there would be a huge benefit towards their championship campaign as a team as well, leading into the last couple of races. But your pit strategy tonight, did you have anything really planned out before the lights went green, or did you sort of make it up on the fly?
Oh, look, I thought about it a bit, but not. I didn't sort of give myself enough time to think about it, the ins and outs. We weren't sure about the tyres and had it confirmed at the end, so that really changes things when you combine a little bit of variation in your stops with regards to fuel, and then when you're going to take the tyres. And typically the overcut's been pretty powerful in the last couple of seasons, but throwing the variation with fuel. In the end, when everyone went in, I decided to do the opposite to try and make the point of difference. Came close, but then the extra lap that Cameron got saving in draft really made a difference in the end. It was close to a 4-second turnaround through that last pit stop, and then he just managed to hang on. I didn't think he'd get there on fuel, to be honest. He did really well.
Yeah, we did make mention of that during the broadcast there of ever so sneaky playing that fuel game relatively early, but then we also saw some mind games when he came out of the pits at one point and a little bit of arguments over who was actually going to lead the race.
Yeah, look, ultimately full credit to him. He made a mistake early in the season with under-fueling. He's corrected that, and it really was the difference tonight, so really great job from Cameron.
Well, from everyone here at Simspeed TV and all our viewers, I'm sure they'll be happy to see that Top Split TV back up on the podium, or Top Split TV Skippy back up on the podium again this week, and here's for hoping another couple of strong performances to set in the season. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we get some good results, and before I go, Russell says hi.
Hi, Russell. All right, that's our third and the second place getters tonight. There's only one more man we need to speak to as we prepare to drag him into the commentary box, never short of a word to say. And we'll knocking on the door right now. We'll bring in Cam Dance, and he's with David Haynes.
Yeah, Cam, the fuel whisperer, schooling them in the endurance round once again here. I'm sure you were ticking over on that strategy from the very drop of the green flag.
Yeah, pretty much. Obviously, with it being an enduro and we had to make 2 stops, it was just going to be more or less all about saving as much fuel as you possibly can to shorten up the stops at some point. So yeah, pretty much just did what we had to do, cruised along, saved fuel, and in the end ended up with the win somehow.
And there was a point there after the first stop where it seemed like you and Alex McKell were playing a little bit of games with each other, who wanted to lead, who didn't, and it still worked out for you.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because Alex ran wide on the way into turn 1, and then I sort of kind of went to turn into turn 2 and got a little bit loose, quote unquote. So yeah, a little bit of gamesmanship between us on the way after the first round of pit stops. But he had some massive pace after that first pit stop, after he got ahead and pulled a 1.7 gap on me, and I was very, very confused as to why he actually managed to get that gap on me, and in the end I actually managed to get ahead of him. So it was very, very confusing, but yeah, look, I'll take the result regardless of how it was handed to me.
Yeah, Ben Snell, also one of the drivers who might have been in contention for the win there, but getting penalised for an unsafe pit entry, is that something you played around with where the limits were? Because it looked real tempting to cut across part of that pit entry, something you can get away with at the Nürburgring Grand Prix track, for example, but here in Hungary they're strict.
Yeah, I didn't really think there was any sort of limit at this track. I mean, based on the way the pit entry was, you had to be pretty committed to the lane, otherwise you were possibly going to end up in the end of the pit wall. So yeah, no, I was just playing it safe on the way into the lane in terms of where I decided to commit. So there's no real need to sort of bail last minute like at Nürburgring, where you can cut right across that separation points. So yeah, it really, really weird that he actually got it on an entry. I would have thought that he might have got it on exit or speeding or something like that, but not the case.
No, just from a very, very wide arc at the pit entry there. You break Ben Snell's race-winning streak this season. Is there still time for a championship tilt in season 12? I feel like in Aussie car, never say never.
Yeah, we've finally made the all-times list 19 wins now, so thankfully we've managed to break Ben's win streak. But yeah, we're not quite sure what the go is from here after that obviously terrible run in the previous round, with the fact my internet decided it was gonna do a not stonks on me on the way to the grid. Yeah, we'll see how we stack up after this round and what the rest of the championship holds. Sitting in 6th coming into this round, so we're quite a ways off. But yeah, like you said, never say never, and like Ben proved today, anything can happen in the races. So we just got to keep pushing on and trying to score points if we can.
My Hungarian phrasebook is correct. Congratulations, your hovercraft is full of eels. You are an Enduro winner.
Yeah, cheers, guys. And obviously, first of all, shout out to the boys at TechSense Piston Motorsport and all our partners, TechSense Sensors, Renville Harnesses, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Major Garage, Sim3D, and obviously you boys for the awesome broadcast and I for the awesome series.
Love to hear it. See you next week.
Yep, will do.
And on that topic, this is where we're going to be next week at Motegi Grand Prix in Japan. This is our Season 12 World Cup, taking us to all corners of the globe, from Hungary to Japan. Well, what can we expect to see there? Another challenging track for the penultimate round of the championship. Very much looking forward to that one here on Simspeed TV next Thursday night. Wherever you are watching, make sure to click like or follow or subscribe. So we have Ozicar Turbo Touring Cars coming up on Monday night as well. They have been a hoot. Plus the many, many other things we cover up. Never a shortage of sim racing action here on Simspeed TV. Ozicar Season 12 brought to you by Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, Locked On iRacing Podcast and Sim Racing Leagues. Thank you to them. Thank you to Jason Fewens joining me, David Haynes, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes with the cameras. We will see you soon. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
now.
my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?